Hello, my name is Sarah Fox, and this is my partner, Etienne Pait. And today we're going to talk a little bit about A Course in Miracles through his business, principles of living. And that's what we're going to talk about today.
This is an invitation to a class that I'm having beginning in January, the first Monday in January at 6:30 p.m. weekly, every Monday for 1 year. Just to let you know up front, what we're all about right now. It's an invitation. So let's talk a little bit about what can be expected from our gatherings. It's a virtual gathering, by the way, through Zoom, and it will last an hour. And just come. Just come. You don't have to go to faraway places for A Course in Miracles or any teaching for the benefits of peace, and that's what A Course in Miracles is all about.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit more about what brought you to A Course in Miracles?
Sure. Suffering. And no kidding. Suffering, pain, emotional pain, physical pain. They even say in Scripture, every head shall bow and every knee shall bend. And hopefully I got that correct. but the point is that I had a lot of suffering as a teenager, as a young man. I was going through, in my 20s is really when my suffering started. And I was in college, and I withdrew 3 times. And by the way, none of this is anyone's fault. So if I say things, it's not that I'm blaming anyone. This is my journey, and I take 100% responsibility for my journey. So I withdrew 3 times for innumerable reasons. And I got a little lost during this time, and I moved into an apartment in Chicago, a roach-infested apartment. And I mean, the paint was probably a 1/4 inch thick. I mean, it was, when I say roach-infested, I mean roach-infested, waking up to roaches and going to sleep with roaches. But during this period, I was also involved in transcendental meditation, but I was still living my life and doing regular daily activities. But I was experiencing a lot of emotional trauma, a lot of confusion. As I said, I was lost. I had a lot of anger and hate and fear, and I knew that these emotions were being embodied in me. So I was just not in a really good space at all. And I was suffering from migraines, cluster migraines, for a very long time. And I was lonely. I felt unloved, unheard. I was disappointed, depressed. I found myself being critical and just disapproving of everything in life. And eventually I got involved in a carjacking. You know how we attract some of these things. And there was a time in Chicago where there was a lot of carjackings going on too. I mean, like a couple times a week. And most of the people who got carjacked were either killed, and obviously I wasn't, or they were severely hurt, and I wasn't hurt either. So that's a story in itself. But I was going through a lot of just inner troublesome and inner turmoil. And I was just floundering. I had no purpose. And, I grew up in a family that mixed race, mixed color, mixed nationality, just lot of mixture.
Mm-hmm.
All my needs were met. They're good family. But there was alcoholism involved and some abuse involved. Um, and, like I said, I was doing this transcendental meditation. And not that that's the way, but that was something I was doing at the time. I was also doing yoga at the time. I was praying, doing the old Christian praying. I was hurting a lot. And then one night, I had an experience, a spontaneous experience that just happened. I was laying in bed at 10:30 at night. I was not asleep, and just spontaneously out of thin air, it is one of the most strangest things. An image appeared in front of me, a beach ball size image. A voice came out of it, and at the same time, there was an electric shock to my entire body, and that happened twice. The first time, I resisted. I screamed out no to this voice, and the second time, it shocked me again. I said okay, and I was drenched. And
was that the same night?
It was all within a 30-second period.
Okay.
Or less. It seemed like it was a long period, but the senses were just kind of distorted at this time.
Yeah.
And I felt a tremendous amount of resistance in me to this vision, this experience, this voice. But the voice came through after I said, okay. I mean, I screamed it. And the voice responded and says, you can create your own heaven or hell right here on earth. Now, I wasn't in any drugs or alcohol or anything or any mind-altering substance, nothing. I was clean. But there was a spirit in me that came forth that responded to the yearning in my heart. So that's what brought me to, not completely, because I didn't know about A Course in Miracles until much later, but that was one of the initial steps.
It started the journey.
It started the journey.
Yeah.
It started the deliberate, aware journey of getting help. Or finding a better way, or easing my pain. I didn't know what I wanted. I wanted the pain to stop.
Right. Yeah.
So. Was that a mouthful, or is that an earful for you?
No. It's very enlightening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of enlightening. There was a problem with this, because as a child, when I was 8, 9, and 10 years of age, I had some what is maybe more commonly referred to as a oneness experience, a oneness awareness, and that at that age, we're all innocent anyway, but at that age of 8, 9, and 10. We're, at least back in my day, okay, we're just so innocent, and I didn't have the troubles, that I had later on, going into my teenage and young adulthood.
Right. So, because as children, I feel like we can go back to being babies and being children, and we were really carefree, and we just didn't. We didn't. It was before we had these problems or beliefs that make us create our problems. So we're totally innocent. And I mean, when I think about my childhood, I always think about that just being total bliss.
Yeah.
But for you, it was probably a major contrast, because you were going from bliss to
Well, because I had the background of what peace, this imperturbable, undisturbed peace, I knew that. I consciously knew that as a child.
Yeah.
So life didn't really make sense. I know, and that was my true nature. That is my true nature. I'm bold enough to say that's everyone's true nature, is that imperturbable, undisturbed peace.
Yeah.
But I wasn't in touch with that. I knew that was the core of who my being is. And so I recognized a huge discrepancy between what my living experience is and what my life is. My living experience did not match who I am. I said, this is just crazy. It's insane. And so that was another major step. I mean, as a child, I had no opinions about anything, no interpretations, no complaining, no judgments. My mind was quiet. There wasn't all this chattering going on.
Right.
It was very similar to being, like a dog or a cat, a pet. They can just be, and they don't look at life and have interpretations about it. They just are being animals. I was just being a little boy, and so I was in peace. And so I want to add that peace is very, it's another name for it. Happiness, or it's another name for love, it's another name for joy, it's another name for harmony or truth, but it's also another name for God. And so there was this discrepancy between God, harmony, and what I was experiencing in my 20s. So I was suffering. That discrepancy equals suffering. So that kind of moved me again to find a way out of the pain. So I was determined to heal the suffering. So I was looking for alternative thinking. My thinking was not right. My emotions were not right. And I had to find a way to get these thoughts transmuted into something that I knew was, I was living a normal life, but it wasn't natural. So I wanted to come back to my natural state of who I knew I am. So
how did you do that?
It kind of, I don't know if Etienne, did it, but it was the yearning in my heart that kind of attracted, helpers along the way, people, ideas, books. I mean, it was my willingness to heal. I mean, sometimes I was willing to heal, but I wasn't really willing to heal, So, I came down to my knees, metaphorically, and I really wanted to heal. I wanted to get out of the pain, And another way of saying that is that I wanted to stop suffering. I wanted to heal. I didn't know the label at the time, but my heart was yearning for something different. And so in my discoveries, I also discovered that, if I'm angry at you, as an example, then my anger just spilled out into everyone and to everything. And if I'm angry with you, if I can use you as an example, then I'm also going to feel all these other negative emotions, worry, anxiety, guilt, just depression. They all come as a family, whatever one I may be engaging in, I know the family of emotions are there with it, unbeknownst to me, and some may be obvious. And so it was just a mess, that it just wasn't one anger one hate, one fear that I mentioned, but it was all of it together that was interfering and eclipsing the joy I had in every area of my life in some way or another.
Yeah.
And so, from that, there's another principle that I discovered in that, and that is my inner condition absolutely dictated my outer experience. And now, what I mean by my outer experience is that my experience I had in my physical body, the cluster migraine headaches, the uptightness, constipation, just acne or whatever, these things that happen to my body. And also the other outer experience was every area of my life, finances, lovers, all relationships on the job, my family relationship, just the way I related to the world and related to my body was all eclipsed with this contamination, that I knew I didn't want there. So, may I continue?
Of course, yeah.
So eventually, during the time I was also involved in, checking out psychics back in the day. And I ran into this one psychic who actually said, you need to understand forgiveness. Now, yeah, I took it. I took it intellectually, but I really didn't understand it for me, because I didn't quite understand what forgiveness meant on the real visceral level, the palpable level. We talk about forgiveness, but I didn't understand it. But I took it to heart, what she said, and it stayed with me for years. And eventually, it made sense. And we'll talk more about that in A Course in Miracles, what true forgiveness is and what human forgiveness is. And it's two different worlds, totally. But I did find out eventually that there's only one problem, and that's an identity problem. And that identity problem, meaning, if I identify as my race, my culture, my religion or no religion, my nationality, my gender, any label or title, what that does automatically, I'm describing and dictating my life according to that carved out piece of identity. So if I'm a certain title, then consciously or unconsciously, I must adhere to the beliefs and the self-talk of that identity. And that's not true, because those pieces of identities are carved out from the whole view. They can't be. And they have history. They have personal experiences. They compete against other identities. They're separated. They're isolated. And so I even knew that as a child, of my true identity was the oneness, the non-dual sameness as my creator. Now that may sound arrogant, but that's the truth of the innocence of the vision that's given. And that's part of the teaching of A Course in Miracles. That's part of the teaching of true Christianity. That's the teaching of the Eastern philosophies. I am that I am. That's what it's all. I am that same I am. It's all there. And so I was graced to have that experience and awareness as a child. And so, the principle is who I identify as is what I'm influenced by. And so these partial identities limits my influence and my understanding. And so, as an example, I am is true. I am Etienne starts the lie. Okay? The I am part is the true part. The Etienne part intercepts or eclipses the truth of just that pure I am. And that I am is just, it's pure awareness. It's divine. It's God. It's truth. It's harmony. It's love. It's neutral. It's empty. It's open. It's receptive. It doesn't make any of these judgments. It says yes to everything. Where these separate identities, they have a no waiting in the background. It doesn't fit into this identity.
It's limiting.
It's very limiting. And that's where the pain, that's the origin of the pain, you know, and that's the opposite of love. Love is the connection, it's the union. And the limitation says no. And so we cut off the peace, we cut off the love, we cut off the truth, we cut off the God, we cut off the harmony, we cut off the source when we start to limit. So, you know, the whole journey is to what we'll go through in the Course in Miracles and the Principles of Living teaching are really just 4 stages, 4 general stages. And the first stage is discovering who I am not. Okay.
So like the ego, basically.
The ego,
yeah.
The meanings and values that support that ego, the beliefs, the self-talk, the false ideas we have about ourselves, the self-concept. You know, these identities are useful in this world because our bodies are communication devices, and they're also feedback devices for divine. So it's a way of communicating, but it's not who I am. It's not the I am. Okay? The I am uses these identities, but it's not who we are. It's not who I am. That's the first stage. And the second stage is, you know, once we discover who I am not, then the second stage happens spontaneously. It's revealed who I am. And how do we know that? It's just self-evident by the peace and the knowingness, the undisturbed peace, the carefree that you were speaking of as a child, the innocence. We just know it.
Yeah.
You know, we don't know it based upon a relative something else. We just know this is life. This is how life is meant to be. I feel at peace. I'm not attacking or getting ready to counterattack or defending. I'm able just to be. Okay, so that the revelation of who I am makes itself known because the veil is lifted of who I'm not. And so that's the second stage. The third stage is actually applying that into our everyday living experiences. You know, applying. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. It's actually the third stage is getting to understand the qualities and the attributes and the characteristics and the nature of what is this real self of me? What is it about?
Right.
You know?
Yeah, and I think that that's really helpful because we've read a lot of different philosophies, and sometimes there isn't it's a lot of philosophy and words, but there's not a practical solution to how do I apply that to my daily life, especially since, live in Midwest Wisconsin, have jobs. How do you apply that with, relationships, jobs, families? How do you apply this teaching into daily living?
Yeah.
And how can you be at peace in your life?
Right. And that's a critical step.
Yeah.
There's millions of books out there thousands of
Oh, yeah.
teachers, um, and they're all great. I guess, I guess they're all great. I'm going to say, they all have a purpose.
Yeah.
But the ultimate part of all the teachings is, like you said, the application. How does it work for jobs? Putting a meal on the table. But it's all about, what I mentioned before. The inner condition dictates the experience that happens in this body and also in my world. So if I'm feeling anxious, then I'm going to set up situations, okay, that will confirm I'm right about being anxious. It is the journey, the healing journey is so simple. It ain't easy all the time.
No.
But if we understand the principles, it's simple. And just applying the principles in our thinking, in the way we feel about stuff, the way we relate to one another, the way we perceive using 5 physical senses, and the way we act. If we just remember, I'm not that special identity, that separate, limited identity. This is who I am, and I'm going to practice. So who's going to show up first in each moment? And that's the practice. And we're going to support each other and not push each other. I mean, it's all an invitation. We're going to support each other.
Right.
On which voice are we going to listen to? We're going to listen to the ego voice, or we're going to listen to the voice of God, or the voice. If we have so many people I've talked with have trouble with God.
Yeah.
It's God is a noun and a verb. And it's the same as peace. It's a noun and a verb. It is. How do you put it in action? Harmony. Right. It's a noun and a verb. It is. Put it in action. So which voice are we going to listen to? Love, or harmony, or peace, or the ego attack, or counterattack, or defense, or whatever frustrating emotion that is, whatever frustrating thought that is, whatever limiting thought that is. Which one? We have that choice in each moment to take our stand in one or the other.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
And another word for God that I like to use is also life or the universe. So I know some people like to use those, or whatever God Allah. I'm trying to think of
it's the unnameable source of life itself, and there's no word that will describe this unnameable energy. It's a formless, open space of pure awareness. Yeah. And in that pure awareness, everything is truth, everything is love, everything is beauty.
Yeah.
And it's just unnameable. So we do the best we can to put something on it for the human experience.
Right.
So so maybe we should get clear about how we can invite the attendees. Come on. Come on. I'd like you to go to my website. It's www.etiennepait.com. Go to the tab, A Course in Miracles, Principles of Living, Weekly Gathering, and just follow the instructions. It's real, hopefully simple. So it's www.etiennepait.com. And it's not required that you come every Monday. It's like learning any language. The more you practice, the more it just rolls out of your mouth. And the more you practice being love, being God, being harmony, being peace, being truth, the more it's like, it becomes the natural nature. It becomes the born again. kind of, I become a child again,
Mhm.
the divine child. And I don't know, what else do we need to add to the invitation? Is that it?
6:30 p.m. on Mondays.
Beginning January 3rd, 2022.
Yep, in the new year.
In the new year.
And it's all virtual.
Yes.
So you don't have to, you can leave your sweatpants on and
it's going to be cold.
Slippers.
Yeah, it's going to be cold.
Especially if you live where we are.
Yeah. So, you can come every Monday. You can come once a month. You can come once, check it out, and pop in, pop out, however you're moved to. So love to see you there. And of course, if you have any questions, just go to the website, www.etiennepait.com, and my contact information is there. I'll be very happy to respond to you. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for taking the time. It was much longer than I had hoped for, but got kind of winded here. Thank you. And thank you, Sarah. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
All right.